Fantastic. Yeah, so you're going to say something more?
From Bright Stars Childminding.
From Bright Stars.
And co.
Fantastic. So, yeah, you mentioned Bright Stars Childminding, so that is the business that you have. So if you could, first of all, I mean, you don't wake up one day, well, maybe you guys did, but not many people wake up and feel, do you know what, let's just change my career and just start childminding business from home. It's not every day that you have those types of thoughts. Yeah. So today we're really going to try and get to know you guys a bit better, find out a bit of your history in terms of your career backgrounds and how it came to be, how the journey's been, and hopefully it can really help to inspire people to either do the same thing or a similar type of thing and just make that step and transition. So I want to ask a bit about your background. So I don't know who wants to start first. I'll let you choose. But if you could just tell us a little bit about your background, maybe what you studied and what your career was. So yeah, go ahead.
You go, Nursev.
Okay, so I was a HR manager in financial services. I studied business and IT, and kind of from the time I graduated, I went straight into financial services and into HR, and then worked my way up from admin to being a senior HR manager within several different banks, from, well, all over the world, Japanese banks, American banks, European banks, my whole life, my whole career until now.
Okay. Well.
Okay. Okay. I graduated at London College of Fashion in 2005 with a fashion degree, and I was doing freelance in designing as a fashion designer, and I was making some stuff, some accessories and so forth, and selling them in a pop-up shop. And also at that same time, I was working in a few major department stores as well. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Fantastic. So it's, I mean, we've got banking, we've got fashion. It seems quite a far stretch to just jump into childminding. Now, it would be more understandable if you were both teachers, etc. So what made you decide to change careers so drastically? I would call that a drastic change. You know,
it is a drastic change.
Fashion and banking into childminding. So,
yeah.
You know, tell us about that connection.
It was completely different. So for us, it was for personal reasons. So our second son was born with Down syndrome, and our third son followed shortly afterwards. So because then now we had 3 children, one with additional needs, and our jobs changed, our job situations changed around the same time as well. So we knew that there would need to be a change in our career paths in order for us to be there for our children more, because the hours I was doing were not sustainable, having 3 children and then all the appointments that would need to go to for a child with additional needs and all the support he would need. You can't do that when you work to the wee hours of the morning.
Right, yeah. Now, just to give us a bit of background in terms of that, because I know that when people say banking, there's a lot of different things that may pop into people's head in terms of how that works. But you mentioned like Japanese banks, American banks. Talk to us a bit more about what a typical day was like. And as you said, it didn't lend itself well to you being able to look after a child with additional needs. So maybe explain a bit more of what it would have been like if you had actually stayed in that career.
Yeah, if I stayed in that career, I was leaving home and would, because my boss was more lenient, I was able to have breakfast with my son sometimes, depending on what meetings I had first thing, and in which bank I was in. So if I was in the Japanese bank, I may have had calls kind of first thing in the morning or very late at night, or it's kind of similar within the American bank, it would have been in the afternoon. So depending on which bank I was in, I sometimes was able to have breakfast with my son in the morning and then head to work, be on the BlackBerry the whole way on the train, no headspace, constantly working, and then work all day to the point where I didn't even have a moment to think about him. Lunch was at my desk. I'd nip downstairs, and these banks are brilliant at making sure that you don't need to leave the building because there's GPs there, there's the gym there, you can get your lunch there, your dry cleaning there, everything's in the same building, so you never have to see daylight. It's really great. So I would eat lunch at my desk, and then get home in the evening after 8 on a typical day, so kind of after bedtime. Or what we used to do at that time, when we only had one child, we'd make him stay up later so that I could spend some time with him, read a book to him before he goes to bed. And that would be it. And then I'd be back on the BlackBerry, finishing off the rest of my day's work, and it would start all again the next day. Wow. So it was very difficult to have meaningful time with one son, let alone with 3. So something had to change for me.
Yeah, of course. And I think from what you're describing, you know, lots of people have different types of jobs and careers, but, you know, we kind of watch these American TV shows, etc., and you hear about people doing all-nighters at work. Well, you worked in that environment, didn't you?
Yes.
People,
I did it, yeah. I was 8 months pregnant, working till 2 a.m. because it was financial year end, and we had to get all the bonuses out on time. And then also I had to finish all my project work as well. I was working on a global project at the time, and it was what I was working on was being replicated all over in the different regions as well. So I had to finish all that work and get it to a place where someone could pick it up and run with it while I was on maternity leave. So, you know, I have heard stories of other mothers in my situation still on their BlackBerry whilst they're in labour.
Whoa, seriously?
That is the environment that I came from.
Wow. That in labour. I thought you were going to say something else.
Whilst they're in labour.
Wow, that's another level. John, so tell us a bit about your background. So it sounds like you had an entrepreneurial background already. So you already had your own products you were selling in shop, as well as working, you said, major retail stores. So talk to us a bit of the same thing. So what was your days like, etc.?
So working for certain department stores, very stressful, because obviously we would be doing sales, getting up early, finishing late, working 6 days, even, you know, on and off different days. But this was before our first son was born. Mm-hmm. And then what actually happened, I was working for a fashion brand. The brand, 10 years of the brand, it was closing. And obviously I was made redundant. So at that time, I was still doing my little designing and stuff. And also I was an at-home dad. So I think that was in preparation for me, where we are now. Right. And whilst Nursev was saying, you know, she was, you know, as soon as she knocked on, gave birth to our first son, she was at home. And then when she went back to work, you know, I took over. And to the point where now, you know, our oldest is 10 now. Next year will be in his last year, primary school. So we've come a long way. Mm. And then seeing him grow up, and then also we've got 2 others as well. And then 2017, our youngest was 3 months when we started the business. So I guess this was all in preparation of what was happening from 2010 till now. You know, it's I never guessed it, but yeah, it was
10 years. Wow, that's amazing. And shout out to all the stay-at-home dads out there that are watching, because you know, it's something that, you know, in the old days we would have looked down on that role, right? You know, there's a lot of stigma attached. The man has to be the breadwinner, etc., etc. But you know, respect to you, because the reality is, I mean, for anybody who is looking after children at home, I take my hat off to them, because it's not an easy job. It's really not. It's not. And I think as well, you know, you're breaking a lot of stigmas there. You know, being a good, strong black male role model, being at home with the children. Respect to you, sir, for that.
Thank you.
That is excellent. It's great to hear things like that. Yeah. So you said that was kind of preparation for yourself in terms of the whole segue into childminding.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the time aspects that Nursev, you've mentioned the time aspects in terms of the demand on your time at work. it seemed to kind of fall into place with you, John, in terms of the whole being made redundant, which happens to us all at different stages. If it hasn't happened, I hope it doesn't happen, you know, to people watching. But unfortunately, it does happen to a lot of people. So that was a more of a kind of setup, I guess. But there's still this point at which you think, we're going to actually make a business out of this, right? So, you know, that's not a light decision to make. So talk to us about how you actually came to that decision. Because there's one thing saying, we kind of need to look after our children, but looking after everybody else's children as well.
That's a whole nother level. So I was driving along thinking, right, I need a new career. My job situation had changed. We'd had our second child, and thought that, you know, what can I do? What can I use my skills for? And I was driving along and I saw this woman and she looked really, really miserable. And you could see she was clearly a childminder because she had different children around her, which they didn't look like they were hers at all. And she just looked so, so miserable. And I thought, I can do that job and not be miserable. And actually, if I do that job, then I can learn about development, and that will help our son with Down syndrome to develop. And then I can be there for him as well. And then, you know, when shortly after that decision, we found out about our third child as well. And so it made even more sense that we could then be there for our three boys and do the school run, which I had not been able to do before.
Right. Yeah, that school run, you know, since I came out of full-time work, I'm known now in the neighborhood by some of the mothers, you know, and one or two of the dads as well. You know, you get your nods and hello, you know. But that school run, I think it's not something to be taken for granted. Anyone who's had a full-time job where you're working 9 to 5, you know that feeling of leaving your child with a childminder or with someone else, and they're then taking them to school. You don't really know how it's gone, and you know there is something there in terms of just that feeling of being able to take your own child on the school run. It
was lovely, just the thought of being able to do that. And I'd made that decision and started setting up the business by myself, and that's when John's job situation changed, and we thought, you know what?
So obviously on another job again, and I was made redundant with this job. So it was the right setting.
So to clarify, that was twice, was it?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Retail department store. But yeah, it wasn't just working. It wasn't working out at all. And then obviously I said to myself, you know, we've got a young-year-old, 3 months, the youngest, 3 months. I thought, you know what? She needs help. So this came at the right time, really.
It did. And
then it was child with special needs. So
wow, that's amazing. So it seems that, you know, I don't believe in coincidences or chances. It was like a setup to kind of, I guess, point you guys in the direction, at least, of starting this business. But so in doing that, now you're both on the same page. Nursev, you started planning out the business, and then John joined in and said, right, okay, let's do this together. How then did you go about doing that? I know, John, you had some experience of business, etc. How did you kind of come together to make that dream a reality?
We did training. So we had to do relevant training for childminding. Obviously, Nursev started it off, and then I followed.
So like safeguarding and first aid and childcare at home and preparing food preparation, and we went and we did the kind of highest levels, so not just the basic requirements for being a childminder, but the highest levels, because we wanted to stand out and we wanted to be the best, and also just to help our own children as well. And because we were changing career and we're starting from nothing, so we did the highest levels, and the parents really do appreciate that when we have those discussions with them. We also
networking with other childminders as well. And I think obviously being a male, it was quite daunting. But obviously being with my wife, I thought, okay, I can handle this, because obviously she can answer the question. You know, a lot of the childminders are ladies, so obviously I was there observing, listening to what she was saying to them, and then obviously getting to know them as well. And then later on, we would go to groups with them.
Yeah.
And we'd set up groups in a local children's centre. And then we'll be there like once every week. And then we get to meet their children that they have. And yeah, just got to build a bigger network. And we come together and talk about, you know, if we have any problems or how can we reach to this level.
Yeah, those other childminders were a great help for us, because we wouldn't have known where to start otherwise. And, you know, there's silly questions that come up and basic questions that come up. And they were the childminders, because there's enough business to go around. They don't have to kind of hold on to it and not give us information. They're quite free and open, and many of them in the area have been doing it for years and were really happy to work with us and share their expertise. We also got in touch with the local council, because they were able to guide us through the steps that we would need to take to set up the business and to have the right what's the word, to get the Ofsted involved and have approval to go ahead and start our business. They also came round and risk assessed our home and guided us on next steps and ideas of what we could do to change, to adapt our home in the cheapest way possible. We also were able at that time to apply for a grant, and that grant covered a lot of the changes that we needed to make, and the tools, the toys, you know, the extra toys and bits that we needed to buy.
Oh wow, extra toys. I bet your sons were devastated.
Well, we needed we needed girls' toys, to be honest.
Oh really? Oh no, they were devastated.
We had loads of boys' toys. And then, because it wasn't a baby anymore, we needed some kind of younger things as well. And whilst ours was still tiny, so we got some new bits like that as well. We started advertising as well on various free childcare sites. So we didn't really pay for advertising. There's a lot of free sites and Facebook pages that we use. So we've got our own Facebook page, and then we use that to advertise on local Facebook pages like Plummy Mummies, so for mums in Plumstead or Plumstead people, or, you know, for our area, relevant to our area. And we get over 1,000 views when we post in the local.
Go ahead and plug that Facebook page. What's the page called?
So our Facebook page is Bright Stars Childminding.
Fantastic. So people watching, you can share that. People, right. And where are you based?
In Plumstead Common, in South East London.
Fantastic. So share with your friends, everybody who lives around the area, and throw more business your way. John, there was something that you said that I want to pick up on, and that is something that really resonates with me. My career was in primary teaching, right? So being a male in primary school teaching, it's not common. It's not common. No. You seem like a really, really brave man, you know, breaking the stereotype of stay-at-home dad, breaking the stereotypes of childminders. You know, you don't expect to have male childminders. You know, I've had to take my children to childminders, apart from the last one. I thank God I've been able to look after myself and my wife. But, you know, when you take a child to a childminder, if I'm honestly speaking, the last thing I expect is a man to be standing there at the door. I would think that he's just opening the door and he's going to leave the person who's in charge. So talk to us about that. How's that been? What's the response been like?
So this year it's coming 3 years for our business. So we've seen a lot. As a male, when I mean a lot, I've seen the acceptance straight away. And then I've seen sort of the quietness, but I think it's the quietness is like, okay, we'll see how it goes. Not being they don't like us, but it's the awareness.
People are like, hold on, this is a man.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a man.
So it comes. Yeah, I mean, at the beginning it was very, very hard, because it got to a point where, okay, my wife would open the door and hello, but people know that we are a team. And I think once they come to our home and they see how we are, especially with our children and the other children, I think it clicks straight away.
Yeah, 95% of cases, people know they're coming to a husband and wife team. And so it's not a surprise for them when they get here, because all of our advertising promotes us as a husband and wife team.
Okay, right, that's good.
So it's not too much of a shock. I think for the ones who have, I don't know how
so
they would,
really
because on all our advertising we've got, but just on a couple of occasions they've come in and they've been surprised. But I think sometimes it, you know, it can also come up not being funny, but I think sometimes they're not always expecting him to be black. And on a couple of occasions where we've had some cultures come in where they're maybe not necessarily mixing with many black people, they've come in and you can see that there's a shock on their face. And obviously we don't know because they don't say it, but potentially we can attribute it to that, because we do advertise that we're a husband and wife team, and they all know.
And it's a very small percentage, very tiny percentage.
A tiny percentage, but
the other is like 90%.
Yeah,
that, you know, it's very positive, and it's good. I mean, what we have done as well at the start, we were posting our leaflets through letterboxes near where we live, so we'll get our kids as well in a buggy, double buggy, posting, you know, back and forth. So people will be pulling their curtains and looking, seeing who this is and that. So,
you know,
we are known locally now.
Yes. We'd also, like, in setting up our business, we'd also go to local baby groups. And at the time, because I had a baby, I had 2 little babies, you know, so I'd go to those groups and be able to network with other mums and then tell them about the business that we were starting up or soon to start up at that time. And so we had a few links that way as well. And then, like John said, when we're out and about speaking to parents locally, or the parents that we knew from the school, they would start spreading the word as well about us. So all of that helps. So we didn't really have to pay much for advertising.
That's really good. I mean,
apart from the leaflets.
I think what the key message that comes across is really it's networking and leveraging the things that are available to you. You're talking about applying for grants, going to baby groups, and learning from people who have the information. I think that's really key. Nursev, you mentioned regarding your son, you said your second son was born with additional needs, has Down syndrome. You mentioned that in learning about childminding, you'd be able to learn more how to support your son. Can you explain a bit more about that and how that went, basically? So as a childminder, you have to follow the early years framework. So it's exactly the same as nurseries do and schools do. So for their foundation stages, you have to follow statutory government guidance on the curriculum, basically, for younger children. And so because we had to learn about that same curriculum, then I could apply those milestones to my son. So obviously understanding that there would be a delay, but I'd know that, okay, he needs to be doing this next, and then that next, and then that next. And it was all laid out before us. So as we were there assessing other children for their parents, we were also assessing our own children for us, and then setting targets for him and for our 2 younger children. So that helped his development massively and prepared him. He's now in nursery, so it gave him a great foundation for going to nursery. And he, when compared with his peers with Down syndrome, is now more advanced, because we were able to sew into him with the understanding. You don't know what you don't know, and if I was still in banking, I wouldn't know this stuff. And it's not, you don't necessarily, because of government funding cuts and everything, you don't necessarily get the support you need, or that used to be there for children with disabilities. So for us, having this knowledge was powerful in his development and for his future, because it's laid the foundation for him. And you can't get better than a good foundation. No, not at all. That's amazing. And I do recall you've been on the it's the Victoria Derbyshire show. Is that right?
Yes, twice. Yeah.
You've been on there twice. Fantastic. You'll go back.
Well, we did, funnily enough, we have emailed them recently to say, would you like to do a follow-up on how well our son is doing?
Right. Wow, that's amazing. So when you were on the show, were you doing the childminding business at the time?
No, we
No.
weren't. No,
that's when
it was on my maternity leave.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That'll be interesting for them to have a follow, because I know the episodes were about parents with children that have Down syndrome, etc. So it'll be really interesting. I think this is a very powerful story, really, because you know you've had strong careers. You've had, I guess, what a lot of people would look at as security. You've got money coming in, etc. But really, you've taken the decision to say, no, family first. And actually, we're going to totally change career so that we can focus on the family. I think that is amazing. Really inspirational story. So I guess the burning question for everybody watching this is, what's the money like? You know, how's it going? You know, is it good? You know, because the reality is people are afraid to start a new venture because they're afraid they can't, you know, have the money they like, etc. So we're not asking for figures, you know, you don't have to say how, but clearly you're doing all right. You must be.
Yes. It pays the mortgage.
it pays the bills. It's not banking. I'm not getting the bonuses. You know, I miss my bonuses. However, it for a business that's in its second year, it's paying for itself, and it's paying for everything that we need and more. So it's great, you know, for what we've needed it to do, it is doing it. And there are ways to build it to make it more, you know. So at the moment, it is a successful business. It is, we are full, often full. We have waiting lists.
We've got a lady who contacted us a few months ago saying she's pregnant, and she's saying, what are the procedures if she has her child that is not born yet, you know, in our setting? Like, what is the stat? Like, she wants to put her child down.
Oh, wow. No, whoa.
This is someone
there's a waiting list.
Never met
and there's that. That's next level waiting list. An unborn child wants
exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah, we have unborn children on waiting lists.
Wow.
So it's going well. And you know, we want to take it further. We want to start a nursery because we're constantly having to say no to people because we're full. But yeah, I'm not going to lie. In the beginning, it was a struggle. It was very difficult, as it is when you start a new business.
Of course,
we needed a lot of family support to help us in the beginning. But now it is running itself and it is making money, which is great.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. The next question was going to, I think you may have answered it. What's next? So you spoke about expanding it, maybe starting a nursery. How do you go about doing that? You know, you started off in stable careers. You thought, right, let's try a hand at business. Now you're looking at expanding. This is amazing. So what are the next steps? What's the time frame?
Well, I think what we need first is for our kids to grow up a little bit, because we still have, you know, very young children. So our child with additional needs is 4 now, but is like a kind of 2/3-year-old, and we have a 2-year-old. So it's like we have twins. So, you know, all the challenges that comes across with having very young children and no sleep through the night and all that kind of stuff. I think we need our kids to grow up a little bit. So maybe in the next kind of couple of years, when they're both in school, we can have a look into it and what the next steps will be. And hopefully your viewers and the other people that you have in this Facebook group will be able to help us and show us what the next steps are, because we don't know yet at the moment. We just know that the demand is there and that this could go bigger, and people know us and trust us, and we have a good relationship and a good business model, and we just want to, because we try to already operate like a nursery. So in preparation for that, we already do newsletters, we use an online system for everything. So our contracts, our menu for the week, any nappy changes, observations for children, their targets, everything is in the system. and parents can just go in and just sign contracts online and see all the policies and permissions, everything that they need is there. So because we're already trying to operate at that level, then hopefully the transition should be a bit smoother.
That is amazing. That is absolutely fantastic. I'm having an Oprah Winfrey moment. I'm feeling like I really want to help. You know, I haven't got a car or car keys or anything to give to you guys, but I definitely will. I'm going to make it a point. Now, I'm saying this now on this live interview. This is being recorded. Hopefully we'll get it onto YouTube as well. I'm going to plug you guys into some serious, there are some serious bigwigs in this network, actually. There's people who are running businesses, serious business strategists, people. I'm going to try and set up a meeting. We're going to set up a meeting for you guys to talk about your plans regarding moving forward and getting your nursery plans written down as a business plan. And then we'll see about raising some funds to get you guys started, because I think there are people watching this video that are willing to help. You guys have got such an amazing story, and I'm sure it's inspiring others out there, maybe to start their own business. It may be childminding, it may be something else, but yeah, we need to make this happen. We need to make this happen. I might even give Oprah a call and see if she can.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks so much for your time. We're going to wrap it up now, but I mean, a lot of times, you know, you can ask different people how they feel they managed to make a go of it, you know, and they managed to make a success of things. What do you guys feel is kind of the key ingredient to your success? The fact that because not everybody that tries these things out succeeds.
Yeah.
People that try things out, but, you know, it doesn't actually work out for them. So how do you feel? How do you guys feel that you've got this success?
I think we work well together.
Yeah.
And I think we balance each other out.
Yeah.
And I think our children know that as well. And they're a big help as well to the business, because obviously when people are coming to our home to see the setting, to see us in general, you know, they're seeing our, this is us. This is us personally. This is our family. So you're letting us have your child, their pride and joy, and you're coming in our setting, and yeah, I think we do balance ourselves.
We get on well with each other and with the parents. We're very hot on communicating well with parents. So I think communication is key. We have very honest and sometimes direct conversations with parents, because it's really important to us that we're honest with each other, because that's the only way that we can, you know, help their children to develop sometimes. So, you know, those skills from HR and all those redundancy meetings I've had to do help in having difficult conversations sometimes.
Yeah, not easy, but, you know,
it works out well. I think they respect that. They respect that we're quite honest and open. And then we've built a good reputation in the community as well. So a lot of our business as well is by word of mouth, from people who follow us on our Facebook page, or from other parents that we know from the school, or obviously children that we have looked after, their parents, even people we meet out on the streets.
Bus driver,
you know.
That couple.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and you know about us. I see you guys going past, you know.
We're constantly being watched, and we're really mindful of that. So, you know, we said early in the business that we do stand out. You know, we're a mixed couple. We've got children. We've got 2 double buggies, a mixed couple, 2 double buggies, and then about 6 children, all of different ethnicities. So we do stand out, and people do watch us. So we're very mindful of how we come across. We're always smiling, trying to be professional, knowing that we're being watched all the time. And that we are, because we go to soft play or children's centres, and people do come up to us and say, oh yeah, we know you guys, or we've seen your Facebook page, or we've seen you at this place and that place, have you got space? Because we really like what you guys do. So I think, just like we've said before, around success, networking and communication and building a good reputation. And then like I said, we're trying to operate very professionally as a nursery does, and parents do appreciate that. And we even have a volunteer who comes to us once a week, who's a retired teaching assistant, and we love the intergenerational kind of link, and parents appreciate that as well. So yeah, lots of different things.
That's fantastic. That really is amazing. You know, I'm I'm just inspired by what I'm hearing. I really do thank you guys for sharing your story. And I'm sure this is only the beginning of your story. I'm sure there are great things ahead for you guys. And I'm sure Oprah's going to make it happen.
We should do like a hashtag Oprah, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, again, thank you so much for your time. Your day now has ended. I know you've been working all day. So you can put your feet up, have a cup of tea, but thank you so much. We appreciate it. And all the best. I will definitely be in touch, and we'll set up a few meetings and we'll see how it goes from there. All the best in your business, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.